All right, welcome back to this week's episode of MVP Real Estate Podcast. We have Teah Hopper here. Did I pronounce the last name correctly?
That's right.
All right, good. From the Missouri Midwest. I always like when we get Midwest people in. From the Midwest, who is specializing in social media with real estate and other industries, from what I hear. So thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for giving us the time.
I'm so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite things to do. So I am excited to join you all. And I love that we're just jumping in and there wasn't a lot of prep, because that makes, I think, so much more authentic. And so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. The podcasting thing, when we started, Natasha had no idea that she was my co-host. So I just threw her in. So I slid it under the table. She set everything up. She got all the equipment ready. She got like where we're going to host it, all that stuff. And we got to the first show and I'm like, oh yeah, and you're the co-host. And she's like, I don't want to be co-host. And I'm like, well, I need one. So you are. So she's grown through it, but it's been fun. Natasha, would you not admit it's been fun?
It has. The first 2 or 3 were like super stressful. And I think more so too, because we were doing like a list of questions versus.
That's what I was going to get to next.
Yeah.
So it's just like checking your list, making sure. And at that point too, we weren't doing it on Zoom. We literally like had a setup with like microphones and like the whole 9 yards. And so like making sure, and just FYI, I have no background in like audio recording or video recording or any of that stuff. So it's been a learning process, but that first setup was awful. It was just so hard. There was so many moving pieces, and I'm so much happier now that we're on Zoom.
Yeah. So the laid back just conversation, like you were saying, Teah, is kind of what we were going for. So I'm glad you're on board with it.
Yeah.
So in that, we always start the show the same way. That's our only constant. What do you do and how did you get there? Like, what was your path to lead you into the social media? I forgot how you phrased.
Social media strategist.
Social media strategist. How did you get into that field? What led you into that?
Yeah, so I have a background in, well, actually my degree is in broadcast media. So this really is like my jam, and on my list to start my own podcast. But until then, I'm just jumping on everybody else's. So when I get there, Natasha, you can tell me what setup is working for you. But so I studied communications and marketing in college, and just because of my age, I think, in my first job out of college, kind of became known as like the social media digital person, because I was young and they were like, oh, you do that, you know,
you can do it.
Yeah. And so I ended up, my second job was with Missouri Realtors, so the trade association for the state of Missouri, and they're here in Columbia where I am. And I started off as their director of digital engagement, and then moved into the VP of marketing role. But social media, community management, digital, that was always kind of my passion and what I was known for. I always wanted to do my own thing. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And it just honestly started happening. It's perfect timing. I had a couple of my bosses there left and when they went to their new company, they're like, hey, can you help me? We don't have a digital person. Can you help us put this together? And started to have realtors ask me on the side if I could help them in their brokerage and with their social media. And so it just kind of organically started happening. And at the same time that we were ready to start a family. So it was perfect that I was able to slowly build it on the side for a couple of years. I'm not a risk taker. So I had to like have clients, have my business set up, have a website, like all those things done. And my plan was when I had my daughter to then, you know, move into my own business fully. But the company I was working for was so amazing and supportive. I ended up staying on for a year. And then at her first birthday, I was like, okay, I've got to make the change, because it was at that point where I felt like it was holding me back. I didn't feel like I could really, share what I was doing publicly, because I just didn't want people to think that it was like So was able to actually retain them as a client, and they're still a client of mine, and then, go all in with my business. So I've been doing it actually later today, I need to post to make my celebration post. It's been 5 years since I went all in.
If we had the fireworks sounds, we would do them now. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So I continue to help realtors, but I also work really with, I would say, business owners who are, trying to run their business and also do the social media thing. And they just either don't get it or they don't have a system in place so that they can do it with, without spending so much time on it. And I love to help people like craft and tell their story. Like, what is your magic? How do you make magic happen? What's your secret sauce? And that's what we go then to the socials to tell the story. So it's a branding kind of strategy. And I say strategy because it's not just like, okay, you need to go post. It's really digging into what do you need to be talking about? Who is your audience that you're going to, you're trying to attract on social media? What's the end goal? Like, what's your funnel look like? It's so that when they engage with you on social media, they're taking those steps to get closer to work with you. So that's kind of the strategy piece. And then, like I said, the system of setting it up so that you can do it, and a lot of upfront work so that then you're just spending a little bit of time on it throughout the month.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, congratulations on 5 years. First off, that is a super cool feat to have. Because I think, what is the time for like a small business? Isn't it like 5 years is usually like the make or break period?
I thought it was like
You
3.
hit
I
it.
was going to say 2 or 3 is what I hear.
Was
a
it
lot.
3?
Yeah.
So you made it past the threshold. So congratulations on that one.
Thank you. Yes.
I know getting started has so many hurdles and so many changes and all that. And to be in I would consider social media such a new field. Like, marketing's always been there, but social media hasn't.
Mhm.
And I still think in some effect, we're trying to figure out what the best course is for that.
Yeah.
And some people get it and spend time and like drill down on the specifics of it. And there are people like me that are like, I don't get it. I know it's useful. Like, I will never say it's not useful. Social media is so useful. I just don't have the time and the awareness to like put out the right message. Like, how many posts do we do where we get engagements, or how many posts do we do to just send out information to people? Like, is there a ratio there, or what? That stuff I'm going to leave to the gurus of social media on that one. But I think it's so cool to be able to be in your position and in Natasha's, because she does multiple different owners and companies. Are you in different industries, or are you all in just real estate now, Natasha?
Oh, I'm mostly in real estate. I think I'm doing any other.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
That being said, at the same time, I literally just got let go from my company 2 weeks ago. So I'm still like interviewing with other businesses too, just to be like, all right, I need some work. Hand me some stuff to do.
Yeah, but even through real estate, like the one broker or owner that you're working with on the East Coast was Airbnb.
Yeah.
We don't do any Airbnb. So all the knowledge you got with Airbnb doesn't really translate into what we do here. And I'm sure, Teah, you're finding that with your clients as well, where you could specialize in something here, but it doesn't apply at all to this job. So you got to like manage all that stuff and keep that all organized. Do you find that as a big obstacle in what you're doing, or can you now at this point, 5 years in, kind of seamless, we're running fine?
Yeah, I actually love taking like the process that I've created and applying it to other industries. Because I think I would get really bored if I've played with that, like, do I just niche into real estate? And I think I would get bored. So I like that part of it. And that's why I also start with their brand, so I can really understand like their business and their goals and what makes them different. And so yeah, I like the variety, but I do think, some people love to go all in, but it sounds like Natasha and I need to connect separately after
Yes,
this.
absolutely.
So with your social media strategist position, do you focus on certain realms of social media? Like, I don't know, do you do TikToks? Do you do Facebook? Like, what do you work with?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say, as you were speaking earlier, is that it's so hard, I think, because social media is always changing. Like, it's hard for the business owner but it's also hard for me to keep up with. And I will just say, I've been more transparent with this lately, and people seem to really appreciate it, that like, I don't really love social media anymore. I used to. When I had my second child, I like honestly had this freak out of like, I had time off and I wasn't on all the time on my phone. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, but I love what my business affords me to do. And I'm like, how am I going to go help people with their social media when I'm kind of feeling over it? And I actually, it took me a while to get there, but I realized it's a huge benefit because like you were saying, like most people don't like it either. Like most business owners are like, I'm over it. I don't, and so for me to be able to come to them and be like, hey, guess what? I don't really either, but that's why I created this strategy and this system so that you can, use it to grow your business without having to be on your phone or your, device all the time. So it's actually been a differentiator for me in a way that I can like niche down and to work with people, who are more like that. So I, so that was kind of, let's say like 2018, 2019. And then, so I just had my third child in last October, he's almost a year old. And in the last year, I've been like, okay, I've got to jump on the Reels and the TikTok because I was kind of like waiting to see if it was going to stick around, and I didn't have a lot of clients that were there. They were mainly just like Facebook and some Instagram, but not wanting to do Reels yet. And so after I had him and kind of got back into things, I really dove in and figured out for myself, which is what I typically do. And I've just put together in the last few months a package for clients where we're able to help them. And so now I have more and more clients that are on Instagram and wanting to do Reels. And we're really just creating, one piece of content that they can put on TikTok or Instagram or both. And so that's been really helpful, to be able to grasp that and to then help them with that. But I do think it's a must, like if you're going to be on Instagram, and if you're wanting to be on TikTok, like I don't think it's going away. So that's why I've embraced it. I'm trying to help my clients embrace it. And again, come up with this process so that really what we're doing is like batching a whole bunch of them at once and developing that system. So they're not trying to do it every week, but give me, a couple hours and we'll get it done and then we'll push them out for you.
Yeah. And I'm in the same wavelength with, personally, I don't like social media, but I know it's something we need to do. Just like I don't like doing accounting. I didn't get into building so I could do accounting. I don't like accounting. That was like my one class I didn't do well in. I had to struggle to get my C. Like I'm not an accountant. I won't lie. I'm also not a social media guru. I won't lie. All of my personal social media, like my Facebook, I think is a picture from me when I was 10.
Yeah.
And my Instagram, is it still? Nice. My Instagram is completely fake. I think my profile picture is a picture of a fork. I just don't, personally, I don't want anything on there, but I know that social media for the business is necessary. I'm not an expert, which is why Natasha's here helping. And Teah, you're helping your clients. Like if you're out there and you're starting, you have to at least bare minimum realize that it's a tool in your tool belt you need to use. If you're not the one using the tool, that's fine, but you can't just abandon it altogether.
Yeah.
Even if you personally don't like it. I mean,
I heard something a few weeks ago that really resonated, and it was like, Instagram is really becoming like what like Google used to be, right? It's like people aren't necessarily like, you don't, depending on your approach and your goals, like you're not necessarily using it to get new leads. Maybe you are, but you can also just be using it as like, okay, someone hears about you, they're going to go to your Instagram and check you out. Are you legit or not? Right? Like, do you feel like you're going to work well with them or not? It may just be a 5-second like check, but you got to have something there, because if you don't and your competitor does, and they're going to reach out to them. So yeah, you need to have a presence, right? And I think one of the things you were kind of saying earlier that I thought of that I wanted to go back and share is that what I really try to do is work with business owners, and that like I don't think you can just hand it off, right? But there's a way that you can be involved, like I said up front. We can get your story, we can figure out what your goals are, and we can develop a plan that then you bless, and then you can hand off and just check in, be aware of, and like, is this working? What do you need from me? Maybe you're creating 10% of the content and someone else is helping create some of that content. But so there is a way that you can have someone help you do it and it be effective. But it's got to be working together. And I get people all the time. And honestly, a lot of realtors or people in real estate, like, can you just do it for me? And I'm like, well, I could, and I could make a lot of money, but like, this is not how I work. I don't, because I figured out pretty early on that like, I can't care about it more than you do. Like there are
Yes.
brokers that I was like begging to like, please just like, will you just give me 30 minutes of your time? Like, so could I just do it for you? Yes, but it's not going to work. It's not going to be authentic. People aren't going to really care. And that's not like where my heart is. That's not fun for me. So that's where I tried to design this process where we can get, you know, the business owner or the decision maker involved early on, come up with this plan that then we can hand off. And then we're doing a monthly check-in. So it's still you, it's your voice, it's your business. But you're not creating every post, you're not pushing it out, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's where when you can find that kind of happy marriage, it's going to be successful.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do like a consultation before you actually start on their overhaul, their Instagram, social media altogether. What are the typical questions you ask, or like hot button points that you try to find out to help them? Like, do you have a stock questionnaire that they answer, or how do you kind of drill down on those hot button items that they want to get across?
Yeah, so that's where I was talking about. We start with the brand, and it wasn't where I was planning to start with clients. But when I was first doing this, I would meet with them, and then we'd start to talk about content. And I realized they had no clue how to talk about themselves. Like I would say, brand, like, well, yeah, I have a logo, you know, and I'm like, yeah, but like, why do you do this? Like, you know, like I don't know, I've never thought about it. So I developed this brand document, and actually after this, that's why I have a new client that we're going to walk through. It's typically like a 2-hour session, and I don't give them the questions ahead of time. I want it kind of like this, raw. I ask the questions, and then I basically will take that with their answers and develop for them like a messaging document that all of our content's coming from. So we dig into things like, I mean, really just like, what's your story? How'd you get here? I feel like this is a lot of what we're doing. But yeah, why do you do this? What is your vision? Like, you know, if this could go anywhere, where do you want this to go? What are your differentiators? What do you feel like sets you apart from your competitors? What are your values? And those are so important, you know, not only for you to share so that people can decide, do we have those shared values? Do I want to work with you? But also for you as a business to be making decisions of like, does that align with my core values? Your voice and tone, right? So yeah, if we're going to hand this off, and someone else is going to be doing this for you, what should emotionally be coming through in the words to make sure that it's consistent? So there's more to it. Those are the things that are jumping out at me now. It's like 11 questions, and then I'll take some time and I'll, you know, really write their story. So at the end of the day, we should be able to take your website, you know, about your Facebook bio, your Instagram, like everything's coming from here. So it's consistent, and they're, you know, people aren't going to one page and getting one story and somewhere else getting another story. And like, while that may be your story, it may be true, it's not consistent. People aren't going to feel like they're really getting to know you. But then the next step is when we do dive into content, like all of our ideas of what you're going to be talking about come from that document. Oh, we dig into audiences too, right? Like I said, like who are you wanting to work with? Who are you wanting to attract? And that really tells us what channels they should be on. And then as we're planning that content and we're thinking about like, what are their pain points? You know, what are the questions they're asking you? What are their fears? Great example, I was working with a realtor earlier this week, and you know, we were talking about her client's fears, and she's like, I mean, they're afraid they're going to buy a bad house. Like that's a real fear, that when you can speak to that, like that you're going to be able to help them know that they're buying, you know, a house that's not going to, you know, end up, they're going to regret. Like that's creating that trust. And that's what it's all about, right? It's creating that trust.
Yeah, that was a really, really hot button point through this whole COVID inflation period, where I'm going to show houses to people and they're like, yeah, we like it. And I'm like, that was not convincing. And right now you're about to pay $20,000 over the asking price. I'm fearful. Like, this is not where we should be. Like, you're gonna have to live in this for how many years to regain the equity? You already want to do all these changes. Like, this just isn't the house. And it gets deflating for people. It really does. And I know that's on the agent side with clients, but there's a comparison within this realm too. I mean, it's a tough little, and that's a hard thing coming from you or from me as an agent with the client to tell them like, no, this is a bad idea. Because at the end of the day, this is you're putting out or helping them put out their product, and you're saying, no, that's a bad idea. Hopefully they're receptive to that.
Yeah.
because it does help. I know that when I started with Natasha, we had to come up with like our mission statement or where we want to go long term. With us doing renovations and rentals, we have two different client pools that we're trying to tap into. So that gets a little bit different. It seems like it's all the same, it's all real estate, but there is a method to the madness and the posts and everything like that. That's all in Natasha's head.
Mm.
She houses all the information.
Every once in a while.
So do you like to work with new businesses, like they just started, we're trying to figure this out? Or do you like the established, we've been here for a couple of years, we're just trying to refine our process? Or do you like the mixed bag? And are there struggles to both? Like, I'm curious with that one.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think through those different clients. I would say I would mostly like to work with the ones who are, more 2 or 3 years in, or kind of figuring out like, hey, I can't do this, or I didn't necessarily do it right the first time, and now I need to kind of, or things have changed, as you start a new business, like you don't really know, you're kind of guessing, and then like, okay, now I think I know like the services I want to offer, or everybody kind of goes through that, I know who I really want to work with now. So that is probably more who I like to work with. I have had some brand new clients just starting businesses, and I think what it comes down to is like, do they know, do they have a mission? Like, and are they on fire for like what they're wanting to do? That's where I love like business owners, or oftentimes I'll work with like the marketing director if it's a busier, a bigger company, but are they like on fire for what they're doing, their brand, and they just need the help? I don't want to have to drag anybody along, right? Like I don't want to be more excited than you are.
Yeah.
It's those people are like, they're so excited, but they need help, and they understand that trust is high because they've tried to do it, and they understand they need a professional to do it, right? And that's probably where I really like to come in and help. We call it the messy middle. So I say we, because I just actually partnered with, this is really cool. There's like 7 other like service providers, and we have been referring people. We all happen to be here in Columbia, but for a while, but there's like a web designer, someone who helps with systems. And we have come together and started this business, but we're calling it the messy middle. So it's like what you were saying is business has been around for 2 or 3 years, and they're just like, I can't do it all. I want to grow and scale, but I don't even know where to start now. Like, and so there's someone with, finances and a designer. And so it's basically we come in and like, look at your business and like, okay, here are all the different things you need to do to up level. And so I do think that's probably more where I am more passionate about, because I just think they get it a little bit more than just starting out. And usually there's a little bit more of a budget. As you're just starting out, it's hard.
Yeah. And those are all fractional positions, correct? Like they're not full-time positions they bring in.
Yeah, no, we're all business owners. We all have our own business. We've just been referring people back and forth. So instead of just like, hey, yeah, you can go to her for that, we're now under one umbrella where it's like we're all communicating and talking. You work with our expertise, but you're not having to be, well, you'll love this analogy, like you're not having to be the general contractor, right? Like you have a project manager who's getting us all on the same page. And so it saves, as the business owner, you so much time and just energy trying to like hand things off to the right people.
Yeah, because if you had, I'm envisioning like a new person coming in, who doesn't know their mission, doesn't really know the market that they want to attack. If you had like a business strategy to go meet with that person first, they could do their business. And then when they're done, they're like, all right, Teah, here you go. We got their answers. Now you go marketing. And then when you're done, you hand it off to the next person who takes it. And then it's a whole chain of events that kind of like fall down for the business owner.
Yeah, and 120 days is what we do. Yeah, you get all of it in 120 days. And sometimes there's like this person, they have a logo, it just needs to be refreshed, but their website needs a complete overhaul, or their website's pretty good, but they really need, their finances need help. Like, so sometimes there's more emphasis in other areas, but you make sure that your whole business is set up and ready to go. And just taking that off of them, which is it's been really cool to see how that can happen. But for me as a business owner, like nothing changes. You're getting the same service for me. It's just that instead of, you know, because at first I would find myself trying to do websites like, that's not my thing. I'm going to send you to Erica, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool. And we have that trust to be able to come together and help people. And sometimes I think too, we can eliminate some of the overlap because we're doing similar things. And so you can just do it once and not have to go through it with each of us.
Yeah.
Say, like that's genius. Like it's a genius offering.
Yeah.
As a previous small business owner myself, I'm like thinking back to, you know, when I first like came up with my business plan, and then I had to come up with a logo, and then I had to come up with a website, and then I had to come up with, you know, X, Y, Z, ABC. And I'm like, if I could have had a one-stop shop to like conquer all of it, so it was all integrated and all done the right way, that would have been amazing. But I didn't. So I had to figure it out myself.
Yeah. It's just kind of happened, like I said, organically, where we were already doing it. And someone was like, hey, if I start this, would you guys do it? I'm like, absolutely. So, yeah, it's really cool how it's happened, and it's such a benefit for the business owner. And we have had a couple new businesses, and it takes longer, right? Because we're having to draw some of that initial stuff out. Like he wanted to offer like 50 services, you know, and it's like helping him figure that out. But we were presenting, just kind of sharing this in a networking group, and there's an entrepreneur who has several businesses, and she's like, I mean, yeah, if she got it because she's done it. And she's like, if I start another business, absolutely, like to not have to do all of that. You know, it needs to be done. You just don't have time to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
feel like there would be a lot of pushback on that owner that's like, all right, Teah, I offer these 50 services and they're all great. And then you're like, no, you want to offer like 5. How does that conversation go when you try to like narrow people down? Because from what I've seen, business owners are like, we offer everything. We're the best thing ever. We can do everything.
Oh my
How
God.
do you, and yes, I'm doing that on myself. How do you narrow them down? Be like, no, we need to focus on 5. And then when we master those 5, we add a 6th, and then we add a 7th, like slowly.
Yeah.
Is there pushback on that? Because I could see some
yeah.
people being like, no, it's 50.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the good news is with this, that there's someone else who takes that on, but
It's true.
you've had to deal
That
with
is
that more.
true.
And then I'm like, just tell me what you settle on. But I would say when it is me and it's my clients, I had that same pain point. Like I said, when I started out, I was offering websites. And so some of it I tell them is, you're going to figure it out over time. Like, what is it that you really enjoy to do the most, that you feel like is the most worth your time, and that your clients obviously feel like, they're getting the best value from. So some of it is you just have to get in there and do it. And you'll pretty quickly, at least for me, figure out what you do and don't want to do. And for me, like I was starting off, I was doing management, and then I realized like, well, I'm only able to help a couple clients if I'm doing all of it. But if I specialize on the strategy piece, I can help a lot more people. And so some of that is that, but trying to dig into their clients, like who do you really want to work with? And what are they looking for or need? That can be really helpful. And some of it too is just, I think we already used the umbrella term, but like kind of going back to that, it's like maybe you do have, let's just say 10 services, but you're packaging them more into 3. So if someone goes to your website, like how can we group them together?
Okay.
So it's like, I'll just use the client that we were just helping. He's a coach. So it was like grouping together like trainings and retreats, online stuff versus in person. And so maybe there's 3 or 4 different ways you're helping within those categories. But when someone goes to your website, they're not overwhelmed with like all these different things. They're kind of like, oh, I think that's me. And then
I'm going to call it the Denny's situation. Like you go to Denny's and their menu has so many things. Like, I don't know what, and I like trying things at restaurants. I'll eat anything other than like coconut. I'll pretty much eat it. But when you go to, I don't know why, coconut it tastes weird. But you go to like a Denny's or a Perkins, and they have like Mexican food. They've got like Greek food. They've got American, and like, I don't know what I'm supposed to pick because there's so many things. But if they could organize it a little bit different, I feel like it's easier to like, no pun intended, but digest the menu, because you can actually take in the information that they're putting out. And that is the first thing that popped in my head when you're talking about that client that just offers all of the things.
Yeah.
I'd be so confused.
Yeah. Yeah. And your client's confused. And so oftentimes then they just leave your website. But if it's like you have those three things and there's a clear next step, right? So maybe it's just get on the call. And that's what I told him, like, get them on a call. And then you can basically tell them, once you talk to them, like, here's what I think you need. And so it's not like you're not going to offer those, maybe some of those things if they need it, but you're not putting it all out there. And I know for me, like, I still do some community management, and that just didn't feel like for me, because like community management is more of like the private, private communities, online communities. And so it just didn't seem like it was fitting on my website. Everything else was more social media. And so I just took it off. Now, if I get a lead or I talk to somebody or I'm on the call with them and they need that, like I'll still do it, but it's just not something that I'm putting out there. So again, kind of trying to just think through your clients and I would say clients, what are they, looking for? And then what is it that you really want to do, or what do you have, what are you most passionate about? Or going back to like time and money, like what makes sense for you and your offerings. And so that's kind of where I would try to go to guide them.
Yeah. And I think all those conversations try to tie it into, you'd mentioned before, and I really liked how you phrased it, like you're going to help them, but they have to own the social media. Like I can't care about this more than you care about it. I think that's how you phrased it. And I thought that was like beautifully said, because as much as I don't like social media, I know Natasha does not care about my social media more than I do. I know that because I've got some of the guys on the job site linked up to social media, and they're supposed to be either posting or sending me pictures of what they're doing in the day, because I know, and it's not Natasha's job to own it more than me. Like I have to get her the content and then she makes it beautiful. She's not the one that goes and gets the content to make, like that's not her job. So when you've
I can, but I'm not on the job site. So
I know. And I've been talking to like the foreman about, okay, if we were going to have somebody to go and take the photos and send them to Natasha, like that's got to be its own position. And do we want to take on somebody just to take pictures when you guys are there? Like all you have to do is take pictures and text me. So how do you, with those clients that are like, I know the benefit of social media, I know that it does what it's supposed to do and it's amazing and it's so powerful, I don't care, you do it. Like I know that those questions are little bits and pieces for them to like care about it more and to see what they can put into it. But do you ever feel like you're like the coach that has to like motivate them to get ready for the game, to get ready for social media?
Yeah. And sometimes, I wouldn't say necessarily like all the time, but everybody has those days, right? But that's where it's really helpful. What we do initially, and then we check in on them like every six months, is establish their goals. So it's like, social media can do so many different things. Like, what do you want it to do for you? And I think that's where so many people just jump in because they're like, I'm supposed to be on social media. Like, what's the goal? Is it new clients? Is it just to have a presence? Is it to be top of mind? Again, we've talked about like different goals. For me, like when I said I was digging into finally getting on Reels, like it's not necessarily, have I got a few clients from it? Yes, but it was honestly just for me to have that like credibility that like, if I'm going to tell clients they need to do it, I need to show them that I'm doing it,
Yeah.
And so, and that I can do it, so that was like my goal, and that's totally different. And so getting really clear on what it is that they want, like, why are you doing it? What do you want it to do? And then how are we going to measure success? And so we'll together determine like what metrics we're going to be looking at. And then we're just revisiting. And that I find to be really helpful, because oftentimes after we go through the strategy process, my clients will either move into monthly coaching or management. So where my team is then putting that out. But even if they're in management, we're having a monthly check-in. And so, we're talking about how things are going and is this working? And a lot of times it is just like, they're like, I can't get my videos batched or this or that or this. And that's where I'm kind of going back into that mindset. Like, let's go back to the goals. Like, why are we doing this in the first place?
Yep.
And I think one of my number one goals is to keep my clients from getting overwhelmed by social media, because we all know that if you get overwhelmed, like nothing good comes from that. You just throw in the towel. And that's where people, if they don't continue on with me, so many times they have this great plan and they're posting for a month or two and it looks great. And then I'll go check on them and like, nothing. And let me tell you, it's really hard when people are like trying to decide whether or not to work with me, like want to see my client work. I'm like, oh, well, there's nothing, or it sucks because they're like they threw in the towel after a few months. And that's what so many people do. They get all excited about it, and it's hard to maintain that consistency as a business owner. And so that's where I'm trying to keep them from being overwhelmed. And sometimes on those coaching calls, it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to dial it back. Like maybe instead of trying to post 5 times a week, you need to post 2 until you're doing it consistently. And then we can, build up from there. It's like, it's like, not to use the gym analogy, which everyone uses, but it's like, you got to start small and build up. And then once you're doing it, it doesn't feel like work anymore. Then we can go to the next channel or, tackle the next thing. So there is a lot of coaching, involved in that. And honestly, that's a lot of reason why I just last January started offering management. My husband, who's also a business owner, had a very different vision for my business than me. I never wanted a team. I didn't want an agency. But when he started his business a year ago and went through my whole process, he's like, there's no way as a new business that I could be creating this content and posting regularly. Like, because, maybe for a few weeks and then you get it, your business grows and you're trying to just take care of your business.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So he was my first client where we started like doing it for him and offering management. And so now that's something that I offer for businesses who, again, they're like, just do it for me, but they've been involved in what this game plan is. So it's not like they're just like, go do it, I don't care. It's like, we're doing it together, and now I'm handing it off to you. I had a client last night that said, I'm handing you my straws. So so that I feel like there's now kind of that balance to hopefully help keep them going.
Yeah. And I know the management side is a big part, because I know with what we're doing, like I've got my hands full with the jobs that we have. If we didn't have Natasha doing like the scheduled posts and the management side of it, it probably would never get done. Not that I don't see the benefit of it. I just, unless I'm going to be up at 11:30 making a post and scheduling the next week's post, I'm probably not going to do it. And I'm probably not going to do it at 11:30 p.m.
No, kids, you have stuff, you have other things that you want to do with your life, and it does not revolve around posting on social media.
Yeah. But like the cool thing with it is, I think the whole fractional employee, like Natasha coming to help with marketing and the accountants that do the account, you don't need as a starting business to hire a full-time position for these things. People like Teah and Natasha are out there in all different facets of your business. Just go find those people and then like invest in them, and they've got your back on what you need. But you need to invest in them just like you want them to invest in what you're doing. So it's like that symbiotic relationship that I'm sure you guys both have clients listed of like, okay, this person cares a lot, this person does not care a lot. And it helps and hurts not how much your effort you put in, but what you can put in. Because if they're not giving you things, there's not much you can do for them. And is that correct? This is for you guys to answer, because
yeah. Pretty much. I need to have some sort of inspiration to create content for people. Otherwise, it's just like, I don't know what you want,
Yeah. Again, not my company. I'm just trying to help you with your company. You got to tell me.
Well, and that physical distance, I mean, we talked about earlier, but yeah, I mean, I had my first client that I did manage it for, and we worked together up until just in the last year. They got bought out and they had their own marketing agency, but they were a pet store in the Pacific Northwest. They had like 30 stores. Like, I'm not there. I mean, and that's something where, we need pictures of pets. We need pictures of products. Like, I can't do that. And so fortunately, I mean, I had a great relationship with the marketing manager, and that's where having that plan is great, because we could plan out the month, and then she could make sure that either her or her store managers were getting that and sending it to us. And then we had, a content calendar where we're plugging stuff in. And so that worked really, really well. But at the same time that they started, I had another client. They were an optometrist, and I could never get them to give me content. And so it wasn't near as good. Now, maybe it's because they didn't have puppies, but like some of it was just like, I can only make it so good without being there. So I think it's a great kind of example of what you're trying to say. Like, there's a partnership, and you've got to do your job. And if not, like, can I create content? Yeah, but it's not going to be very engaging. If people can see that, you know, they know that like it's not actually coming from the store. And I think the real challenge and something I'm still trying to kind of figure out is stories. Like when people want help with stories, it's like that's really hard to do.
That's
like
personal.
Yes.
That's super personal.
yeah.
That would be so hard to put someone else's touch on it.
I know.
That's like tell me about your life, and you're like, hey Natasha, tell this person about my life, and you're like, I don't know your big milestones in life.
Exactly.
Tell those things.
Yeah, I'll do so much for my agents or my people that I'm helping, but there's also times where I'm like, no, this is where I draw the line, because I literally cannot create something that's authentic, and I just don't feel like it's my job to do that. So
yeah, no, definitely. And you had mentioned something about, I'm trying to think, we have to edit this one out, Natasha. You had mentioned the long distance thing, and oh, there was a thought on that one. Oh, what was it? Because I feel like the distance has to play a huge part in what you can do. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. Where do you see like the future? You've already gone from like the one-stop shop to now you've got a whole team that's helping these business owners. Do you and your team members like see the next step? Like, do you want to add more facets in that you can help with people's businesses, or do you want to get bigger, or like where do you guys want to take this? Because what you guys have set up is super unique and very, very cool for anybody that's trying to start, because those were all the hot button things that like me and Natasha had to work through together, like the website, the logo. We created a video, which we had to get somebody on Fiverr, or was it Fiverr, or what was the other one? Level Up?
no, it's Fiverr.
So we had to find people like that to create all this stuff. But it seems like you've got like the team that me and Natasha could go to, and you guys would help us all go in. So like in terms of people listening that are trying to start a business, like what Teah's got set up, amazing. Where do you guys want to take that going forward now that that is somewhat new from what I
Yeah.
So where do you guys want to take this thing? Because I feel like you're like on the starting edge of something like it's gonna blow up. Like that's cool.
Yeah, so we're starting local because, like I said, we're all local. We actually, the business owner that decided to take this and like run with it and create it used to have a co-working space. So we are all like same, female, young, business owners within the last like 5 to 10 years with young kids. Not all have young kids, but in that season of life. And so we're starting local, but I think our goal would be, to expand right outside of Columbia and eventually outside the Midwest and just find the right people, which, we talked about. It's ironic, or we all have kind of that same ideal client, but it's what we were talking about earlier. It's that small business owner, that business owner that just really has that high trust, super passionate about what they're doing, but they need help, right? And they just feel like they're in that overwhelmed, messy middle phase. So I think for us, it would be to just continue to find the right people, and get our process down, and possibly expand into other services. We've talked about adding like SEO, podcast specific service, like expanding a little bit more beyond as people need it. So I would say for us as a group, that's kind of the goal there. And then for me, what I love is that I'm, able to continue to focus on my expertise and help more people, but continue to just focus in on what I do. And I kind of changed my business in the last year too, figuring out how I was going to scale without adding a team, right? Because like that's not my team. I mean, like I have someone who helps me with content, social media. Yeah. Those are all, we work together, but I'm not like employing them by any means. We all have our own thing. So where I transition, and I'm really excited about, is, and I think we all actually, all of those different business owners moved more towards this as like a day type session, right? So instead of us getting together as a business owner, it would be like, we're going to get together for an hour or two, and then, okay, let's see where our calendars line up, and then another couple of weeks. And so now it's like, give me a day and we knock it all out. And so that's been awesome for my clients, and also for me as a business owner. Like if I can schedule 2 of those a month, like, you know,
Yeah.
and so to be able to see where I can grow my business and work with more people, but still have like time to do other things has been super exciting. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at, just continuing to be able to help more people. I love to do speaking and training, so I've been doing more of that, especially within the real estate field and a lot of real estate tech companies. I love this type of thing. So yeah, I would say that's kind of being able to continue to stay on top of the new kind of trends and having a
Yeah.
product to offer people that are wanting to do TikTok and Reels.
Yeah. And I think you guys meeting as a team or a cohort all together, I think helps kind of what you guys were talking about before on your mission or your goal of what you want to do. Because this goes back to the thought that I couldn't think of. If your goal is just to put out content and not have any like meaning behind it, the one downside that as it's gone through and as we've progressed, you can send out wrong messages. And now your audience that you are trying to attack or direct your message towards is getting either an incorrect message or the wrong idea of what you do. And now you just put all the effort into something that is so wrong that now you have to go back. And let's say they're 3 year in and they're like, hey, we tried this once, we messed up terribly. And now you guys have to go in and clean up the mess that was of all the wrong messages and the inconsistencies that now when you guys meet, you can be like, okay, this is where they were. These were the errors. This is where they want to go. And this is where we need to take it. So now you guys can all put your heads together, get on one train of thought and then drive the train in the correct station.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. So that just happened. So we have a couple services before the big package, but one is a self-evaluation. So you can download and basically go through and kind of self-assess your business.
Is that like a SWOT analysis? Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, similar. Yeah.
Okay.
One is the expert evaluation. So that's where like we are going through and like we're all basically, spending some time looking at your business, where your areas of opportunity, where areas of where you really need to improve. And then
what is it? Strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat?
Yeah.
Do I remember that from 15 years ago?
Yeah, nice. But it's like 30 questions and, you get into all the different areas of your business. And so you can either take that then and DIY it, or you can decide to hire us to do it for you. And so the one that just came in, we were all, and it's fun to see like, someone else's, one of the other experts, like thoughts or feedback, because I'm like, I was thinking the same thing, but it was a business that has been around for a while and doing pretty well. But like, yeah, people they've totally missed on what they're actually offering. Like,
yeah.
And so we were like, they need to change their name. Like they have to change their name. It's just not here.
I'm sure that's a fun conversation to have.
Yeah. But then, okay. So then update the branding website, but like, and honestly, so often it comes down to messaging, and that's where we have, someone who helps with that. And so once we get that clear message, then it's just taking it to, okay, we're putting that on social, that's going on the website. And then, talking about like, what is the goal? If you're creating all this content with no goal in mind, like that's where that systems and kind of funnel person comes in of like, what are you wanting them to do? And so that is designed too. So when we're pushing this out, it's like, okay, you're either pointing them to a clarity call, or you're having them fill out a form, or you're having them download a freebie, but like that's all a part of it. And so it's all figured out, because the worst thing is to have this content plan and you don't actually know what you're trying to get the person to do.
Yeah.
How are we moving them?
And as a business owner, how bad would it be if you're in like a networking event and like, oh, tell me about your social media. And you're like, I have no idea. Like it doesn't sit well. You should know what your social media is doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to your point, like that's something you gotta nail down.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So that's a good point. And that's, but we get too close to it, I think, as a business owner. That's the other thing of having someone else look at it. It's like we just get too close to it. And so having someone else with a fresh set of eyes look at it, like, here's your gaps, here's your holes, I think is really helpful. Even for me, like when I've decided to, rebrand, not rebrand, but like refresh my brand or whatever, like I bring in someone from the outside to help me, because it's so hard, to see it yourself.
Oh yeah. And that's always been my problem with like writing, because I'll write how I talk and then I'll read it. I'm like, that makes sense in my brain. But like the way I talk makes sense to the way I input stuff. Even if I'm on a ramble, like it still makes sense in my head. But then Natasha will read it and then she'll send back a version. And I'm like, that sounds way better than how I wrote it. You do need somebody else to take a look at it because they clean up the little things, they clean up the fluff, they clean up the things you don't need. They put in things that like, hey, you're beating around the bush, but like just tell them the thing that you want to tell them. So Natasha's
I have a friend who does copywriting, and I'm like, when I'm like making my marketing stuff, I'm like, can you just look this over real quick? And she's like Xing it out and red marking it, and I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, that sounds so much better. It's just always nice to have a second set of eyes on anything that you're putting out to the world.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I learned that early. By early, I mean college. My roommate was going to be a doctor, so I was just like, hey, every paper I write, you are going to read over it. That was my first dose of getting second eyes on anything I'm writing or putting out. But it's important. So, I mean, I hope this thing takes off for you, Teah. I would say push it and try to expand your horizons, because me being in Wisconsin, Natasha being in Wisconsin, I know that this is something that would help small business owners.
Sure.
So the more you expand, I'm sure the more success you guys are going to find. So good on you guys, and hopefully it keeps going.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny, I didn't even plan to get into that, but as we were talking, I'm like, had to share it.
No.
So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. And yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's, one of those things where we were, like I said, already doing it. Like even for my husband's business, I brought in probably 3 or 4 of the different business owners to help him. But, we were the ones having to keep everything going and communicating. So I think it is a huge benefit and to business owners, makes sense for us and our own businesses. And so, yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see where it's at, a year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as a business owner, I'm fully supporting what you guys are doing. So if somebody's in that Missouri area, what is the best way to contact you? And if they're not in the Missouri area, how should they contact you to expand your bubble into the area they're in?
Yeah.
Just keep calling you like every week to try and get you to push into that area.
We will absolutely work with anybody from anywhere. We're just kind of focusing our messaging and marketing right now locally, but we would happily work with anyone from anywhere. We're all virtual. So the best way will probably just be to, reach out to me. It's just Teah Hopper on pretty much across the board. So my website's teahhopper.com. It's Teah Hopper on Instagram and Facebook. You can send me a message on there. You can send me an email, and then, whether it's you needing help with social media or the whole thing, I can help you decide and get you plugged in the right place.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. And then I'm guessing you and Natasha are going to talk after the show. If you have any content that you'd want to post on the show that people viewing would want to take a look at, that's something we can post in the show notes, correct, Natasha?
Yeah.
Then if you guys coordinate, we can put that in the show notes for you as well, if that would help.
Yeah. I've got a content map that I always love to give clients. So that's basically like if you're wanting to go through my process on your own, and I walk you through that. And basically at the end, the goal would be for you to have like your own posting schedule. So I can share that. That's one of my top free resources. And then I also have a content calendar guide. So if you don't have a content calendar, you want to set one up, it'll walk you through how to do that. So basically those 2 things hand in hand, right, help you figure out what to post and then kind of help you set up that system. So I can share those with you. Is that what you were thinking, that type of content?
Yeah, anything you'd want to share. So, I mean, I know that those are important because Natasha set up the schedule of what we post and when we post it.
Yep.
Which like is super cool because that's changed. Like when we started, we went through every day breakdown of what was Monday, what was Tuesday, what was Wednesday. And since then, Natasha's like looked at the analytics to like, okay, Tuesdays weren't doing much. So like, we're going to try and throw in a new Tuesday.
Awesome.
We haven't done that in a while, but I know that those kind of schedules were important, especially for her to do what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are definitely helpful.
Yeah. And I can share the name of the company Our new business is Small Business Cultivator. So I can also pass along our website and share that.
Yeah, that would be
and
awesome.
you can follow us on Instagram. I'm trying to think of what our handle is. It's something Small Business Cultivator, but we've got a lot of great content where you can like meet all the different business owners and get to know us. Yeah, it's just Small Business Cultivator on Instagram.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, I will be following them later today.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. I'm looking for big things in the future, and maybe in a year we could bring the whole team on.
That would
And
be fun.
Absolutely.
that would be the biggest show we've ever had.
Yeah.
For sure.
And if you want to bring them on individually too, they would be happy to. Like I said, we got a
That is
business
true.
coach, website person, a graphic designer, systems and processes, and then finance. So
You have to send me all of their information.
okay.
That would be awesome.
All right, we'll do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you guys are still getting warm weather. We're like just getting over the 60s today, and that's about it.
It just dropped yesterday. Yeah, it's cooler today.
Darn. Dang winter. This is where we're at though. But I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll definitely be in touch, and we'll keep track of your successes in the future.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
See ya. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.